This is a climber's bike in every sense of the term. It's the brand new Pinarello Dogma F12 X-Lite of Team Ineos' Colombian climbing sensation, Egan Bernal. I know a lot of you will have already watched Ollie's first look at the new Dogma F12 back in April, so I'm not going to go through it in great detail, the changes over the F10 in the way that he did, but I am going to go over a few of the highlights now. Firstly, and most obviously, it's the concave down tube here. Now, without the bottles in, it's hard to see what that achieves, but when they are in, it all becomes incredibly integrated, and it means that the air flows around the frame and the bottles much more smoothly, and it's more aerodynamic. At the front there, the forks have also changed fairly significantly from the F10, all again with a view to extra aerodynamics. That includes these little bits here behind the quick releases at the bottom, and also the fact that there's a much longer trailing edge at the top of the forks, much deeper from front to back. The other very visible change over the F10 is this bowed top tube here, but slightly less visible is the fact that they've now got direct mount brakes as opposed to the single mount ones from the F10. Egan, as you can well see, has opted for rim brakes, but there is also a disc brake option available. At the front, the cockpit, it is a most ultra Talon integrated bar and stem, which Pinarello specifically designed for the brand new F12. As you can see, all of the cables are hidden from view except that one for the front brake there. He's gone for a 13cm long stem, which I've just measured, and the bars are measuring 40cm centre to centre on the drops. Reasonably narrow, but by modern standards of pro riders, not the narrowest. Also on those bars is a proprietary Garmin mount with a 2-bolt design which fixes it underneath the bars. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what the difference is between the Dogma F12 and the Dogma F12 X-Lite that we have here, and you've probably figured it out because the clue is in the title. This bike is lighter. One of the ways that they've saved weight on the X-Lite versus a standard F12 is by not having any paint on it. As you can see, it's pretty much bare carbon fibre. But the main way is the fact that they've used T1100G 1K aerospace carbon fibre. That has a unidirectional weave, which means that they can make it still strong enough, but shed vital grams. And since the big difference between the standard F12 and the F12 X-Lite is the fact that it's lighter, I think we should move the scales part of this pro bike a bit earlier in the video. 6.66 kilos. It's a devilishly light bike, isn't it? Ollie just gave me that one, so blame him if you didn't like it. Now, as a lot of you will know, that means that this bike is under the UCI's minimum weight limit of 6.8 kilograms. So I've just been having a chat with Chief Mechanic at Team Ineos, Gary Blem, about whether he'd be putting artificial weight on this to meet that requirement. And his answer was no. They try not to put artificial weight in a certain part of the bike because it can throw off the balance of it. So rather than do that, they will instead maybe put some heavier bottle cages on as opposed to these super light ones from Elite, the Legeros that you can see there. They've currently got titanium bolts back here on the seat clamp, which they can change out for something heavier too. So they'll basically make sure to get over that 6.8 kilogram mark by changing out bits that won't affect the bike in any way. And he was also interesting in that he said they won't stop at 6.8, they'll try to make it so it's 6.85 kilograms on their scale, so 50 grams over, just in case there's any discrepancy with what the UCI are using when they measure the bike before the start of a race. Something else interesting that he said was the fact that when you've cleaned the bike, there can, despite using an air compressor, still be some water inside or around parts on the bike, which can add little bits of extra weight. So they'll make sure that they do the weigh-in again in the morning after it's all evaporated. Now, to give you a comparison, when Ollie measured the normal F12 bike back in April, it came out at 6.97 kilograms. So there's about 300 grams difference between the two. 100 of that can be accounted for by the difference in the frame set. Probably a lot of the rest of it can be accounted for by the fact that that bike had much deeper section wheels. Here, Egan Bernal has currently got the Shimano Dura C40 carbon wheels on here. And it's Shimano, of course, who provide the rest of the group set too, beyond just the wheel set. Here at the front, he is running 170mm long cranks. He's 1m75 tall, so that is reasonably short by that factor. He's got 39 by 53 tooth chainrings. It's Shimano Dura Ace Di2 throughout. At the rear here on the cassette, he's got an 11 up through to 30, but that could of course change based on steeper climbs coming up later in the race. On the wheels are glued Continental's brand new Competition Pro Limited tubular tyres with lower rolling resistance amongst other improvements. They are in the 25mm size there on this particular bike. Beyond that, we have got a K-edge chain catcher just down here to prevent the chain from being dislodged and getting between the frame and the inner chain ring. And also integrated into that is a magnet, which is needed for the Shimano Powermeter, which is integrated into the cranks there. And the final Shimano part are the pedals. Dura Ace, these are the PDR9100 model. At the top here, he is running a Physique Antares carbon fibre railed saddle. And you'll notice behind it, they've got some kind of mount. I think it's for a kind of data transponder of sorts, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. One of the details that I most love about this bike though is the finishing off of the bar tape. I love the fact that there's no tape used to stick it at the end, but rather just a subtle piece of glue. It's incredibly neat and tidy, I've got to say. I'm sure you will all agree with me in thinking that that is a stealth-looking bike. Very interesting to see how Egan Bernal gets on at the Tour de France this year. Right, I'm almost finished. I was about to finish until Tito basically saved me. Man behind the camera reminding me that I need to do a free hub test, so I'm going to do that right now. Sound test, should I say. You ready? I'm going to do it properly. Happy now? Just before I finish, one more thing that I missed out are these two marks that you might have noticed on the Physique saddle here. I've been speaking to Ollie and he's been looking at a few other bikes that have had something similar, and apparently it's down to helping the mechanics get the saddle in exactly the right place when they're using their measuring jigs. Right, that's about it. If you have enjoyed looking at this bike, please give us the thumbs up on the icon just down below. If you'd like to get yourself some GCN French-related merchandise, you can find that over on shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. And if you can't get enough Tour de France tech, we've got another video for you right down here.